Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Saturday Morning Cartooning, where we learn about the history of famous cartoon characters and learn to draw them together. Today we're learning about another duck from the Disney Duck universe, Darkwing Duck. Tad Stones is an American cartoonist and animator who created many of the shows that took part in the Disney Afternoon block of shows in the 1990s. One of the most famous of these shows is Darkwing Duck. Darkwing Duck tells the story of Drake Mallard, a single dad living in the fictional city of St. Canard. However, in reality, Drake Mallard is a superhero super spy, Darkwing Duck. Darkwing, with his sidekick Launchpad McQuack, gets into crazy adventures with an even crazier cast of supporting characters and villains. The design of the show follows the Duck universe, created by early Disney cartoonist Carl Barks, and continued in the show DuckTales. St. Canard, like Duckburg, the city in DuckTales, shows anthropomorphized animals, walking around and living like humans. The original title and concept of the show was 00 Duck, in which the main character was going to be a James Bond-type hero with zany villains and crazy adventures. However, creators of the show were forced to change the name of the character because the company that owned James Bond also owned the title 00. So Tad Stones and his team needed to change the name to Darkwing Duck. Despite this, there are many nods towards James Bond's spy franchise, with many Darkwing Duck villains sharing themes with James Bond villains, most notably the character Steelbeak, who is similar to the James Bond villain Jaws. Tad Stones says that Darkwing Duck was never considered a spin-off of DuckTales, despite the fact that the character of Launchpad McQuack appears prominently in both shows. He explains that each show is to be considered its own universe, a multiverse of Launchpads. Alright, let's get started drawing Darkwing Duck. Make sure you have your paper, of course, pencil, eraser, permanent marker, colors for later, and let's take a look at our reference drawing. Now, this is a very quintessential Disney duck. It's very curvilinear. That means there's not a lot of angles. There's a lot of curves in the line of the character. Lots of swooping lines, especially in his hat right here and in his cape behind him. You'll also notice that his shoulders sort of make a diagonal like this. So we're going to be drawing those shoulders in diagonally like that. But let's get started with our foundational shapes. And what's interesting about Darkwing is that his head actually starts and continues into his hat. So it's going to go up like this and then down into where his eyes are going to be. And then his cheeks, he's got these thin, narrow cheeks that go this way. And it's going to go slightly up. His head's on sort of like a little angle. So this cheek is going to be up higher. And he's got his mask, which is going to create a little divot right there into his beak. Now, I always found duck beaks to be really difficult to draw because most of the time when a character looks at you, or when a viewer is looking at a character, you're looking at them straight on. But how would you draw a duck bill that's projecting out, looking forward? And that's where we use this word a lot in this show, is foreshortening. This is a foreshortened duck bill. We're not seeing it from the side where you'll see that extension of the duck bill. We're seeing it from the front. So it actually looks a little squat, but that's only because of the perspective that we have. So we're going to be drawing it as if we were looking right at Darkwing. So it's going to be coming out, but then it's going to be making this little shape right here, which is like, that's the edge of his duck bill, creating a lip. And then his lower lip is going to be the bottom part of the duck bill. And he's got a bit of a chin. So it's sort of like this, and then we see a little bit of it right there. And here's the inside of his mouth. I'm actually going to move this line a little bit further this way. There we go. Okay, and we can draw his tongue inside. All right. We're going to draw the hat on first, and then we're going to draw the eyes. You'll notice that his hat is cutting off the very tops of his eyes. So we're going to put the brim of the hat in first, and then we're going to draw the eyes right over the top. So he's got this big swooping hat that goes from one side, cuts off part of his eyes, and then we see the underside of it over here. So it's going to be really see that now. This is going to be the top of the brim. It extends past the edge of the hat, and then it starts going down. So this part of the hat is turned up, and this part of the hat is turned down. If it makes it easier for you, feel free to erase those lines in there. And then there's a little bit of the hat that we see the underside of it right here, but only a little bit. All right. So now it looks like here's the top of the brim, here's the bottom of the brim. All right, here's his mask that's going to go down this way and then back up over here. And there's a little bit of a fold of the fabric right there. Like I said, we're going to draw his eyes right over the hat edge. See how it's cut off a little bit over here? If you want to, again, if it makes it easier for you, after you draw the eyes in, you can erase the very tops. Or you could leave them in until you're ready to ink. And then we're going to put the pupils in there and there. Alright, let's put in his neck, which is going to go off to the side this way, and he's wearing this big, almost like a turtleneck. That's wrapping around the length of his neck. But it's also going to help us create the lapels. So here's one lapel, which is the edge of his coat. So it's going to go right here. There's a notch for the lapel. And then the other one is going to be over here. A little bit of it is going to get cut off, and then it gets tucked behind this part of the jacket. Now remember what I said, we have to draw his arms at an angle like that. So what we can do is we can just draw a little line, and then just eyeball it, have it going down this way. Just keep that diagonal going, all right? So one arm is going to be down here, another arm is going to be coming up this way. I'm just darkening that cheek right there. There we go. Okay, let's get those shoulders in. So over his shoulders is the cape. The cape attaches underneath his lapels, and then it goes over his shoulders. So we're going to have one bit here. And here's his arm coming down. Stretch of the fabric. Here is the one side of his coat. I drew him so big, I might be cutting off the bottoms of his feet. That's okay. That's what happens sometimes. It happens to me a lot. And those of you who watch this show might notice that. And it's going to have a little fist right here, but I'm just putting in that basic shape right now. We'll go back and put in some detail to the fingers or feathers. Now his other arm is going to be up this way, and then the other fist is going to be right there. He's making sort of a heroic pose. Here's the other side of his jacket. He's wearing what's called a double-breasted jacket. The one side goes over, and he's got two sets of buttons. So we can draw those in. It's little ovals. And then here's where the cape goes over this arm, and then it comes down this way. We can create a little fold in the flap of the fabric, flap of his cape. And then we can, well, you know what, before, let's get in as much of the legs as we can. He's going to have two legs going down this way. He's got a straight line going across. Here's the other leg. Alright, so the only thing we're really missing is just his webbed feet. I'll try to get in as much as I can. There's one there. That's where his foot, his webbed foot meets his leg. It actually looks like boots, like a costume boot. And here's the other one. If yours got cut off, like mine, that's okay. If it didn't, what we would do, if we had the space, is go down, create a couple of little webs, and then come right back up, creating little folds in the foot, just as if he was wearing boots. All right. Now we can go across. This is the cape going behind him. And then the other side of the cape is coming down this way, and then it's flouncing out this way. All right. And then before we start inking, let's show some of the fingers. Now, just like a lot of our characters, we're only going to see the outside of this fist. So this thumb is going to be tucked behind those fingers, and then all we need to do is 1, 2, 3 little bumps. This is the cuff of his shirt, and then he's got 2 little buttons just on the cuffs of his jacket. And then on this one, we're going to see the knuckle go up this way, creating a finger, tucked behind this finger, tucked behind this finger, and then that's going to be his palm, and then a fold of the feathers, I guess. He's going to have an inside of his cuff, like that. That's the cuff of his coat, 2 little buttons. And then he's going to have, just like this is going to be his blue cuff of his shirt, this is going to be the blue cuff of the shirt over here. Alright. We got most of everything in there. I probably should have started him a little bit up here. But again, that's okay. If it happened to you, that's fine. If it didn't, that's fine too. Hey, we forgot something. Well, I forgot something. He's got a little ducktail. I'm going to put it right here. So it's just like a little Y shape and then a little feathery shape right there. Let's start inking. Alright, let's start with the hat. And like many of our characters, especially this character, because he's so, again, that word is curvilinear. You want to try and get as smooth of a line as possible. Remember, that comes with experience. You get that very spontaneous line, and you want it to look as smooth as possible. It's called line confidence. And with large expanses of line, sometimes that is difficult. Here we go. we've got a line right here, and then we can put in the brim, or the hat band. Let's put in his mask. The one side of his cheek. The other side of his cheek. Now is where we begin the duckbill. This is what I was talking about, that line that goes over and they kind of twist in and out, and it just gives you that suggestion of a duckbill, as if you were looking at it up close, but in front of the character. And there's his eyes. And here's his pupil. When I ink in the pupil, I'm going to leave a tiny little bit of it white. It'll highlight a gleam. Give it a little bit more dimension. Okay. Oh, let's get his tongue. Good. All right, here's his neck. That's inside this big turtleneck shirt. Creating the lapel. And the other side of the lapel. Oh, forgot this line. This is the underside of the hat. There's that angular shoulder, the cape going over the shoulder. I'm going to do this hand first because it's cutting off part of the cape here, so I want to make sure that I put whatever's in front of something, ink those lines in first. Otherwise, if we make a mistake, and you can't erase permanent marker, so just be careful. Those are those two buttons right there. And remember, I did the cuff of the jacket and then the cuff of the shirt on the inside. Let's do this one here. This is the other side of the jacket. Now we're going to put on his buttons. Now, I'm going to draw on the ovals. Then I'm going to put a second line. This is just highlighting that it is a three-dimensional button, that there's a side to it. Okay? Then we can do this side of the jacket. Notice that I did the fist first, and then I'm going back in to do the tail. Okay. Let's do the cape. What I didn't pencil in is just a little bit of the outside of the cape is visible. When we color it, that's going to be purple. The inside is sort of like a red-violet color. Okay. I think we're just about ready to do some coloring, but let's erase our original pencil lines first. Alright, let's do some coloring. His hat is gray, so we're going to do gray here. And the same tone of gray on the top. We're going to try and go a little bit slightly darker on the underside of the hat, because that's where the shadow would be. Alright, so we just press a little bit darker. Not much, because you don't want to break your pencil point, which I have done on several occasions. I might do it today. We will see. Okay. Hey, I think I made it without breaking the pencil point. Alright. Go me. Alright. Let's do purple. Now, there's about 3 different colors of violet on Darkwing Duck. He's got a straight up violet here on his coat. Then it's a little bit darker on the outside of his cape, and on the inside of his cape is sort of like a reddish violet. So we're going to start with the regular violet for the mask and for the coat. Oh boy, that was a lot of purple. Here comes some more. Here's the dark purple for the outside of the cape. before I forget, the hat band is black, so we can use the Sharpie marker. Alright, let's do the dark blue for his turtleneck. Alright, let's do the red-violet of the inside of the cape. That's a lot of coloring. A little bit more. We got this sort of like a yellow-orange for the beak. I'm going to use this same color for the buttons. As well as his feet, which, as we said before, are they double as boots. Red for his tongue, and you can use the very same red, but just press a little bit lighter for the inside of the beak. Now, things that you can do to highlight some dimension is a little bit of blue or gray on the inside of the eyes, as if the hat was casting a shadow. You can do some highlights wherever there's a fold in the fabric or in the feathers. Do here, 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 wherever you think it will look a little bit more three-dimensional. And you could also, so you could use this mahogany color and just go a little bit darker on the sides of the buttons, just to highlight that it's three-dimensional. And there we have it. Darkwing Duck.